Get her out of here, now! The voice sliced through the noise of laughter, music, and clinking glasses. Guests froze, heads turning toward the commotion near the flower arch. At the center of the chaos stood Clara Beaumont, the picture of perfection. Her white gown sparkling under golden lights, diamond earrings glimmering, smile replaced with fury, and standing opposite her was Lydia, the black maid holding a silver tray, her hands trembling, a splash of red wine staining Clara's train. I'm so sorry," Lydia stammered, voice small, eyes full of panic. "I tripped over the cord. I didn't mean..." "Didn't mean," Clara snapped, stepping closer. "Do you have any idea what this dress cost? You've ruined it." The wedding planner rushed forward. "Mrs. Beaumont." "It's Miss Beaumont until I'm married," Clara spat. "And I want this woman fired. Right now." The planner tried to calm her. "Please, Clara, the ceremony—" "Do it," she barked. "She doesn't belong here. Look at her. Clumsy, careless. What kind of maid spills wine on a bride?" Lydia swallowed hard, her eyes filling but refusing to let tears fall. "I can clean it." "Please, ma'am. I've worked here for years." Clara turned away sharply. "Out, before I call security." The room went silent. Music stopped. Cameras froze. Lydia placed the tray down gently, her dignity the only thing she had left. She whispered, "I hope one day you understand what it feels like to be treated less than human." Then she walked out. Outside the mansion, thunder rolled in the distance. The sky, once golden, turned gray. Lydia walked toward the service gate, the echo of Clara's laughter fading behind her. She'd been working for the Beaumont family for nearly 10 years, since before Clara could even drive. She'd cleaned up after her parties, pressed her gowns, even comforted her mother during the nights she cried about her husband's affairs. And now, after one mistake, she was thrown out like garbage. She looked back once, the grand white tents glowing in the distance, laughter echoing like mockery. Her chest ached, but she whispered to herself, "God, don't sleep." Inside, the wedding resumed. Or at least, Clara tried to make it look that way. Her makeup artist dabbed her tears. The photographer adjusted the angle, and the guests pretended not to have seen what just happened. "Relax, darling," said her fiancé, Henry Carter, with an uneasy smile. "It was just an accident." Clara turned to him sharply. "An accident? She ruined my moment, Henry. This was supposed to be perfect." He sighed. "It's still perfect. You're beautiful. The guests are happy." "She embarrassed me in front of everyone," Clara hissed, fixing her veil. "She should have been more careful." Henry frowned, sensing something change in her tone. "She's human, Clara. She made a mistake." Clara scoffed. "Maybe in your world, Henry, but not in mine." Minutes later, as Clara walked down the aisle, thunder rumbled again. Louder this time. The guests murmured, glancing toward the darkening sky. Lightning flashed. The lights flickered, then came a sharp boom. A power surge cut through the mansion. The chandeliers went black. The music stopped mid-note. Gasps filled the hall as the entire wedding fell into darkness, and in that eerie silence, as the rain began to pour outside, someone whispered, "Looks like heaven didn't like what she did." Thunder cracked like a whip over the estate. Guests screamed as rain slammed against the glass walls of the wedding tent. The chandeliers flickered once, then died completely. "Someone get the power back on." Clara shouted, her voice trembling with panic, but no one moved. The air was thick with fear. Henry rushed toward her, flashlight from his phone cutting through the darkness. "Clara, calm down." "It's just a storm." Clara's eyes darted around wildly. "No, it's not. This wasn't supposed to happen. Everything was perfect." Lightning flashed, illuminating the terrified faces of her guests. Soaked waiters. Screaming bridesmaids toppled flowers. One guest whispered, "It's a sign." Another muttered, "She shouldn't have thrown that maid out." Clara spun around. "What did you say?" But before anyone could answer, a deafening crash shook the entire hall. The giant crystal chandelier came loose, crashing into the wedding table below. Glass shattered everywhere. People screamed. Henry pulled Clara back just in time, both of them falling to the floor. When the lights flickered back on seconds later, the once beautiful wedding looked like a war zone. Tables overturned, flowers crushed, plates shattered. Rain poured through a crack in the ceiling, soaking Clara's gown. Her perfect world had literally fallen apart. Hours later, emergency lights filled the mansion. Guests had left. The wedding planner was crying. Clara sat alone on the floor, her gown ruined, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Henry stood nearby, running a hand through his soaked hair. "It's over," he muttered. Clara looked up sharply. "What do you mean, over?" "The wedding, Clara," he said quietly. "This whole thing. It's a disaster," her voice cracked. "We can fix it." "No," Henry said, eyes full of disappointment. "You can't fix everything with money. You can't control people. Or life." She froze, speechless. He sighed deeply. "I saw what you did to that woman, Clara. Lydia, right? She didn't deserve that. No one does." Clara's lip quivered. "You're taking her side?" "I'm taking the side of decency," Henry said firmly. "I thought I was marrying a woman with a heart, not just a wallet." Before Clara could reply, lightning struck again outside, illuminating the glass windows. Through the flash, Clara thought she saw a figure standing beyond the garden gates. A woman. Still, silent, watching. She blinked. Gone. Her heart raced. "Did you see that?" she whispered. Henry frowned. "See what?" Clara's voice trembled. "Someone's outside." He looked but saw nothing but rain. "You're just shaken up." Try to rest, but Clara couldn't shake it. The image burned into her mind. Lydia's eyes, calm and unbroken, staring right through her. The next morning, the storm was gone. Sunlight spilled over the wrecked mansion grounds, glinting off broken glass. Clara stepped outside, her dress still damp, barefoot on the cold marble. Something glimmered near the gate. She walked closer and froze. A single folded napkin sat on the stone, embroidered with gold thread. The same kind Lydia had carried during the wedding, and written on it, in careful, looping letters, were 3 chilling words. "I forgive you." Clara's breath caught in her throat. Tears welled in her eyes. But this time, not from anger, because deep down she knew something was coming. Something she couldn't buy her way out of. Clara couldn't stop staring at the napkin. The words, "I forgive you," shimmered faintly in the morning light, written in perfect cursive. Too calm, too deliberate. She clutched it tight, her breath shaky. How did she even— "Who, Clara?" Henry asked, stepping out onto the porch. "Lydia," she said softly. "She was here." Henry frowned. "The maid. You're sure?" Clara nodded. "I saw her last night. I thought I imagined it, but this—" She held up the napkin. "She was here." Henry looked uneasy. "Maybe she wanted to leave that as peace, Clara. Maybe she's just better than we were." Clara's voice cracked. "No one forgives that easily." Later that day, Clara drove to the catering company Lydia worked for. Her wedding makeup still stained her eyes, but she didn't care. She had questions, and guilt clawing at her heart. A middle-aged manager looked up as Clara entered. "Ma'am, we're closed today." "I'm looking for Lydia Daniels," Clara said urgently. "Please, I need to find her." The woman's face softened. "Oh, sweetheart." "You didn't hear?" Clara froze. "Hear what?" "Lydia left the job months ago. She only came back yesterday as a favor. Her mother's funeral was this week and she needed the money for travel." Clara blinked, stunned. "Her mother died?" The manager nodded sadly. "Heart failure. Lydia's been through a lot. She's a good woman. Too kind for this world." Clara felt her knees weaken. "Do you know where she lives?" The manager scribbled an address on a notepad. "She stays in Willow Creek, not far. But be gentle. Life hasn't been kind to her. Willow Creek was nothing like the world Clara knew. Dusty roads, peeling houses, children playing barefoot in the mud." Her white Mercedes looked out of place among rusted fences and hanging laundry. She parked and walked up to a small blue house with a sagging porch. An elderly woman sat outside, knitting. "Excuse me," Clara said softly. "I'm looking for Lydia Daniels." The woman looked up, eyes sharp. "Who's asking?" "My name is Clara Beaumont. I worked with her. I just want to talk." The woman studied her for a long moment, then sighed. "She's not home. But I know who you are." Clara blinked. "You do?" The woman nodded. "You're Mr. Beaumont's daughter." "The rich man from downtown." Clara frowned. "Yes, but how—" The woman looked away. "Your father knew Lydia's mother." Something in her tone made Clara's stomach twist. "Knew her? How?" The woman's voice grew quiet. "Your father hired her. Long ago. She worked in your house. Cleaning, cooking, taking care of a little girl when her mama was too busy traveling." Clara froze. That was me." The woman nodded sadly. "Lydia's mama loved you like her own. She used to call you her little sunshine. When she got sick, Lydia had to take her place to pay the bills. But when your father passed, no one helped them." Clara's eyes filled. "You mean Lydia's mother raised me?" The woman's voice cracked. "Yes, she gave her life to serve your family. And when she died, her daughter cleaned your floors." Clara staggered back, her world spinning. She whispered, "Oh my God. I threw food at the woman whose mother raised me." The old woman nodded slowly. "And that's why Lydia said she forgave you. Because her mama taught her to?" Clara sank to her knees on the dusty road, tears streaming down her face. For the first time in her life, her wealth, her name, her pride, meant nothing. All she could see were her sins reflected in the eyes of a woman who still showed grace. Clara drove through the rain, her hands trembling on the steering wheel. The truth replayed in her mind. Lydia's mother had raised her, loved her, protected her, and she, in return, had humiliated her daughter in front of 100 people. By the time she reached Lydia's house, her eyes were swollen from crying. She knocked softly on the door. It opened slowly, revealing Lydia, her face pale, wrapped in a shawl. "Eyes tired but kind. Clara," Lydia said quietly. "I was wondering when you'd come." Clara froze. "You knew I would?" Lydia gave a faint smile. "Guilt travels faster than forgiveness." Clara's voice cracked. "I didn't know about your mother, or about you. If I did," Lydia raised her hand gently, "you would have treated me differently? That's the problem, Clara. Kindness shouldn't depend on history. It should come from the heart." Tears spilled down Clara's face. "You have every right to hate me." Lydia looked down, her voice soft. "I did hate you. For about 5 minutes." Clara blinked. "Only 5?" Lydia's lips trembled into a smile. "Because I remembered what my mama used to say. Don't let someone else's cruelty make you cruel too." Clara broke down, sobbing. "I threw food at you, Lydia. I called you names. I ruined your job. And you saved me from myself." Lydia reached for a tissue box and handed her one. "Crying's good. It means your heart's waking up." Clara laughed weakly through tears. "I don't deserve your kindness." "No one really does," Lydia said softly. "That's why it's called grace." They sat together at the small kitchen table. The house smelled of lavender and something warm on the stove. Rain pattered softly against the window, a sound that made the silence gentle, not cold. Clara looked around. "You live so simply, yet there's so much peace here." Lydia smiled faintly. "Peace doesn't live in things, Clara. It lives in people." Clara hesitated. "Can I help you somehow? I mean, really help? Please, let me do something good for once." Lydia stared at her cup for a moment. "You want to help me?" Clara nodded quickly. "Anything." "I owe you that." Lydia took a deep breath. "Then promise me something. Promise me you'll use what happened. Not to feel guilty, but to be better. To stand up for people who can't." Clara nodded, eyes shining. "I promise." Lydia smiled softly. "Good, because I don't have much time left to see it." Clara froze. "What do you mean?" Lydia looked down. "The doctors found something. Cancer. It's spreading fast." Clara's breath hitched. No, please don't say that." Lydia reached across the table, touching her hand. "It's okay. I've made peace with it. I've lived my life with love. That's all anyone can ask for." Clara's tears fell harder. You can't just give up. Lydia shook her head gently. I'm not giving up. I'm just letting go. She smiled faintly. Maybe God let our paths cross again so you could learn what my mother taught me, that love is stronger than pride. Clara gripped her hand tightly. Then let me carry that lesson for you. Lydia squeezed back. Then promise you'll carry it with mercy. Outside, the rain stopped. The sun broke through the clouds, sending golden light through the small window, falling on both women's hands, still joined on the table. And in that light, Clara's pride finally died, and her heart was reborn. A week later, Clara sat by Lydia's bedside in the small clinic. The white walls were bare. The only sound was the soft beeping of the monitor. Lydia's face looked peaceful but pale, her strength fading. Clara brought flowers every day, stayed through the night, and read aloud from Lydia's favorite book. Sometimes Lydia smiled. Sometimes she simply watched the sunlight move across the wall. That afternoon, Lydia whispered, "You don't have to be here every day, Clara." Clara shook her head. "Yes, I do. I need to be. I need to make up for everything I did." Lydia smiled faintly. "You already have. You came back." Clara's voice broke. "That's not enough." "Then do something that lasts longer than guilt," Lydia said softly. "Use what you have to help people who don't." Clara squeezed her hand. "I will, I promise." Days passed. Lydia grew weaker. One evening, Clara arrived to find the bed empty. Her heart dropped until she saw Lydia sitting near the window watching the sunset. "I wanted to see the light one more time," Lydia said. "It reminds me of Mama. She used to say sunsets are God's way of saying, 'I'll see you tomorrow.'" Clara's eyes filled. "You're going to see her again soon, aren't you?" Lydia nodded slowly. "And when I do, I'll tell her I forgave you, that you learned what she taught me, how to love without pride." Clara broke down crying. "Don't talk like that, please." Lydia reached over, brushing away her tears. "Don't cry for me. Cry for the part of yourself that's still learning to love." That night, Clara stayed until Lydia fell asleep. She whispered, "Thank you, Lydia, for saving me." When she came back the next morning, the nurse met her at the door, eyes full of quiet sadness. "She passed peacefully," the nurse said. "She left something for you." Clara's hands shook as she opened the small envelope. Inside was a folded letter written in Lydia's careful looping handwriting. "Dear Clara, if you're reading this, I'm with Mama now. Please don't mourn me. I had a good life, not easy but full of purpose. I saw your heart change, and that's more than I could have asked for. Don't let this pain turn into guilt. Turn it into good. Feed someone hungry. Help someone forgotten. Forgive someone unworthy, just like I did with you. That's how we heal the world. Love, Lydia." Tears fell onto the paper as Clara pressed it to her chest. Weeks later, the small blue house in Willow Creek had a new sign in front, "Lydia's Home of Grace. Free meals and hope for every soul." Clara stood outside, dressed simply, hair pulled back, serving soup to families who had nothing. Children laughed nearby. The same warm light Lydia loved poured across the tables. Clara smiled softly, whispering, "You were right, Lydia. Love really does outlive us." And in that moment, she felt a quiet warmth, like sunlight through a window, as if Lydia herself was standing right there, smiling. 2 years later, soft music played in the same grand hall that once witnessed Clara Beaumont's humiliation. But this time, the chandeliers glowed warmly. The tables were simple, the guests diverse, and laughter filled the air without judgment or pride. Clara stood at the altar again, but not in a sparkling designer gown. She wore a modest white dress, no diamonds, no veil. Her smile was soft, genuine, peaceful. Beside her stood Henry, not in a tuxedo of vanity, but a man reborn by love and humility. And around them, every guest was someone their past selves would have ignored. Workers, servers, maids, and families from Lydia's Home of Grace. As the pastor spoke, sunlight streamed through the stained glass, painting the room in colors of forgiveness. Today, the pastor said, we don't just celebrate a marriage. We celebrate mercy, the kind that changes hearts. Clara looked up and whispered to herself, "This is for you, Lydia." After the ceremony, Clara walked outside, the crowd following. On the lawn stood a bronze statue, a woman holding a tray, her head high, eyes kind. At the base of the statue, an inscription read, "In memory of Lydia Daniels, she taught us that grace is stronger than pride." Clara knelt before it, laying down a single white lily, Lydia's favorite flower. Henry placed a hand on her shoulder. "You kept your promise," he whispered. Clara smiled through tears. "No, we did." Later that evening, as guests dined under strings of warm lights, an elderly woman approached Clara. "The same one from Willow Creek." "You've come a long way." "Child," she said, her voice trembling. Lydia would be proud. Clara held her hand. "She saved me. I was blind, and she showed me how to see again." The woman smiled softly. "You were both chosen for each other's lessons." Clara nodded, her eyes glistening. "And I'll keep teaching her lesson till my last breath." When the music began, Clara stepped to the microphone. "2 years ago," she said, voice echoing through the hall, "I thought a wedding was about perfection. About showing the world I had everything." She paused, tears forming. "But then I lost everything, except a lesson from a woman I once disrespected." The room fell silent. "She forgave me when I didn't deserve it. She showed me what real love looks like. So tonight, this isn't my wedding. It's our redemption." The crowd stood, applauding softly. Some cried, others smiled, all moved by the truth shining in her words. Clara looked toward the back of the hall. For a brief second, in the golden glow, she thought she saw Lydia standing there, tray in hand. Smiling gently before fading into light, Clara whispered, "Thank you." As the night sky filled with stars, Clara and Henry opened the doors of Lydia's home of grace to everyone present. No one paid to eat. No one was turned away. Rich or poor, black or white, everyone sat together, side by side, sharing food and laughter. And from the heavens above, it almost felt like someone was smiling down, proud, peaceful, eternal. Moral of the story: true grace begins where pride ends. What you give in kindness may one day return as salvation. Forgiveness doesn't make you weak. It sets both souls free.